Hello there and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Casey and I'm the designer behind Pattern Scout. I am a sewing pattern designer and I sell sewing patterns, and here on the YouTube channel I also like to share all sorts of sewing projects. So I'll do sew-alongs for some of the patterns, but I'm also basically just sharing anything that I feel like sewing each week. So this week I really wanted to make a lined tote bag with pockets. And this is a very basic project. It's very beginner friendly. And if you wanted to make it even more beginner friendly, you could just omit all of the pockets. But I kind of feel like pockets are necessary, especially in a big bag like this. You want to be able to keep all of your very important stuff organized. The main fabric that I'll be using for this project is some leftover denim that I used for a pair of off-white jeans that I made forever ago. And I also had some leftover olive green canvas that I used for my cozy jacket when I was making samples for that. So I'm going to use that for some of the contrast details on this bag. I think that's it. I think that is basically the overview of today's project. It's a pretty quick one, so let's just get started. I've got all of my pieces cut out here, and I'll just give you a quick overview of everything that I've cut out. It'll make more sense as this kind of starts to come together. But for the exterior first, I've got two pieces that are 18 inches wide by 12.5 inches long. And then I've also got a piece that is about 13 inches long by 18 inches wide. And that's going to be attached to the bottom here. So the base will be this olive green color. Then I've also cut two pockets. These are 7 inches wide by 8 inches long. Those will be attached on the exterior on either side of the exterior. Then I've got a piece for the lining. This piece is 18 inches wide by 36 inches long. And then I've also cut a pocket for the interior that I think is about 11 inches long by 12-ish inches wide. So those are all the pieces for the tote body. And then for the straps, I think I'm just going to use this cotton webbing that I have. I bought this forever ago. I used to actually use this material for the tote bags that I used to sell. And so I just have some extra of this laying around. If you do want to use the webbing, I'll put a link in the description to the webbing that I'm using. So I first prepped my pocket for the exterior. And to prep the pocket, I just turned it under once by about 1/4 inch and then another time by about 1 inch, and then top stitched that fold down for a wide hem, which you can see here. And then at the bottom of that pocket, I just turned it under by 1/4 inch and did not stitch it down yet. Then I laid the pocket on top of the exterior piece. And to find the center, I just folded both the exterior piece and the pocket in half, lengthwise and crosswise, and then lined up the center so the pocket is centered on that piece. Then I cut a piece of my strap about 25 inches long. That gives me enough to go up the length of the exterior piece, plus about a 9 or 10 inch drop for the handle, and then back down to the other side. And I've positioned that over the edges of the pocket. So now I'm just going to top stitch this handle in place first. I'm going to stop about 1 inch away from the top here so that I'll have room to go in and finish the top later. So I'll stop about 1 inch at the top and then pivot and come back down. I'll do the same thing for the other side of the strap, and then I will just stitch the bottom of the pocket to the bag. And here's what that looks like all stitched up. You've got the straps stitched here. You also want to make sure that you keep this untwisted at the top here. One thing I didn't mention. So yeah, the pocket is secured in there. Now we have an exterior pocket. I'll do the same thing for the other side. Once I had both sides of the top part of the tote complete, I attached the bottom by placing it right sides together at the bottom of one side. Pressing that seam allowance toward the bottom and then top stitching the seam in place from the exterior for a decorative top stitch. Then I did the same thing to attach the other side of the tote to the bottom piece. Then I folded the tote in half so that right sides were together and stitched along both sides of the tote to close the sides of the tote. The next thing I want to do to complete the outer shell of this tote bag is create the gussets in the bottom of the tote bag. And to do this, I'm just going to fold the corners so that the side seam aligns with the bottom fold of the tote bag. And then I will sew across the corner about 2.5 or 3 inches away from the corner to create that gusset. And then that is going to give us a flat bottom on the bottom of the tote. And you can trim these gussets if you want. I usually just leave mine intact just because I don't want one more thing to throw away. So I'll just leave it intact on the interior of the tote. It won't be showing once we put the lining in anyway. And that will complete the outer shell of the tote. Now we can work on the lining. I have attached the pocket to the interior of the bag, and first I prepped the pocket by turning the top under the same way that I did for the exterior pocket and top stitch that fold in place. Then I folded under all 3 of the other sides by about 1/4 inch, and I aligned the pocket in the center of the tote, but I also placed it 4 inches from the bottom edge. So I just folded this tote interior in half to find that bottom edge. And then I folded this in half lengthwise and did the same thing for the pocket to align it at the center. And I aligned this, pinned this in place, and then top stitch all around the 3 edges with a double row of top stitching. And then I did a single row of top stitching down the center of the pocket to create 2 openings here in the pocket. Now I'm just going to fold the interior of the bag in half, right sides together, and I'm going to stitch the sides and create gussets the same way that I did for the exterior of the bag. The only thing that I'm going to do differently is when I sew the side seam of the lining, I'm going to leave just about, 3 or so inches in the side here unstitched so that I can turn the bag later after I sew the lining in. Once I have the lining sewn, I'm going to turn the exterior of the bag wrong side out, and then I will insert the lining with the right sides facing each other. And I'm just going to stitch around the top perimeter of the tote to attach the 2 pieces, making sure that I keep the handles kind of folded out of the way of the seam allowance. Then I'll just turn the bag right side out through that opening that I left in the lining, and then I will stitch up the lining. Once I have everything stitched up, I'll insert the lining back into the bag, and I'm going to press everything nice and flat, and then I will do some top stitching around the top edge of the bag, and that will complete the bag. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this project, and if you did enjoy this video and you'd like to see more from me, please be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell icon. That way you'll be notified when I release new videos in the future. And I will be sharing that bucket hat that I have on in the final shots of this tote. I made that out of the remaining scraps from this project, and it turned out so good. It turned out so, so good, and I'll have a pattern for you for that as well. So stay tuned. I'll be posting that video tutorial in the next week or two. Okay, I think that's all I have for you today. I will see you in the next video. Bye. And for the handles, I just have some heavy duty webbing, and for the handles, I have some heavy duty webbing. And stay tuned because I will be having a tutorial for that.